Reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're listening to The Happy Hearthstone. This show is brought to you by Doghouse Systems, who make some of the most powerful gaming PCs around and have awesome customer service from my own experience. Use the coupon code MMOReporter at doghousesystems.com and get a free 120GB SSD on top of the 1TB hard drive that comes with your system. By Audible, hands down the best audiobook service in the entire universe. Seriously, if you have any sort of commute or just prefer to listen to your books, you've got to check Audible out. Go to audibletrial.com/MMOReporter and get a free 1-month trial and a free audiobook. If you'd like to directly support this show and the nice people who make it, you can find more information at gamediplomat.com/donate. Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Happy Hearthstone podcast, the longest running Hearthstone podcast in the history of space and time and cards. I am your host, Josh Augustine, and this week I am joined by another community all-star, superstar, extra star, golden star, Jamie. Hey, Jamie. How you doing?
On. Thank you for that amazing intro. Wow.
I couldn't pick one, so I just gave you all three.
I'll take all of the things, yes.
Nice. What is your favorite color star, if you had to get a sticker for a star?
I'm going to have to go with orange.
Orange? Ooh, that's like bronze. That's like a third place star.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because orange isn't really a celebratory color, but I just think it's vibrant and awesome.
Okay. Well, hey, I can respect that. That's a happy answer. And also, I think I have to respect that because I'm jumping right into why I'm happy. It's my son's first birthday this week.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. We're planning his birthday party, and people were like, oh, what theme are you going to do? Well, he's one, so he doesn't really like anything yet. But he does like the color orange. So we're just going to make everything orange colored. We'll be like an orange cake and orange balloons and stuff. So he's in the boat with you, I guess.
I guess so. Well, he's got to be awesome then. I mean, orange is a pretty awesome color.
Clearly. He's going to be a deck building superstar, just like Jamie. Just like Uncle Jamie. That's what I'll go tell him.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Jamie, you were here because you sent me an email and suggested a deck you wanted to bring on the show. How long have you been playing Hearthstone? Why are you here? Why should people listen to about this awesome deck you built?
Well, I've been playing Hearthstone ever since the beta. I heard about it through, I guess it was IGN or something that I was reading. I was like, ooh, Card Battler by Blizzard? Calling me interested because I'm an old school Magic player. Been playing since Revised and on and off, not the whole time, but when I heard of this new game, I was like suddenly interested. So I downloaded the beta and got an invite and been playing ever since. I mean, I play pretty much every week, and I've played since then. So yeah, it's been a great run, and I've really enjoyed the game so far. I think Hearthstone has been a really amazing foray into card battlers for Blizzard, and I think they've done an awesome job.
Yeah, me too, man. It has been a fun ride. It's amazing how many of the guests like you, Jamie, that come on have been playing since beta. Like, because it seems like a lot of people joined obviously after beta, but for something about deck builders, man, people that like building decks and sharing them on the show, they were in early.
Oh yeah, we get all in there like right away.
So what was the very first deck you ever remember liking?
I think Mage, just because I played that in World of Warcraft back in the day.
Okay.
And I liked the hero power with the Fire Blast ability to pick off the early minions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, once you open that Flame Strike and use that for the first time, your face just splits from ear to ear in a massive grin, and you're just like, yes, this is amazing.
Yeah, especially early on when people didn't really know as much to play around it. So they would just fill the board up, and you're like, oh, a 6 for 1? Yes, please.
It was just Value Town, and how can you resist?
Yeah, so good. Awesome. So are you more into the constructed side of things or the arena side? Or are you more into the tavern brawl now that that's a thing? I got to ask about that now.
Yes. Tavern brawl. I got to say, I'm much more of a limited player by choice because I prefer the deck building aspect of things. But when it comes down to it with constructed, I generally just don't have the time to just grind out to legend every season just because of work and life commitments. So the limited environment with the arena seems to fit my lifestyle better, and so I like to just get in there and battle. But these tavern brawls have been like a whole new breath of life as far as the limited formats, and I think it's been super fun to try out so far.
Yeah, it has. All right, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But before we go too far, buddy, you got to share why you're happy this week.
Well, I'm very happy because I'm taking the plunge and I'm going to go to Gen Con this year for the first time.
Oh, awesome. When is that?
It's the end of July, so end of this month. And it's funny because I had actually heard, well, I was first inspired to go by one of your other guests, Dan Patrice. He had mentioned about being at Gen Con and how awesome it is for board gamers.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, what's that all about? And I'd kind of done some research on it, and I just kind of decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. Instead of going to Comic-Con this year, we're going to Gen Con.
So that is awesome. I'm sad that this came at the expense of Comic-Con because I'm going to Comic-Con next week. We could have hung out. We could have high-fived. Or I could have pretended I didn't know you if you beat me in the brawl. And then...
I was going to say, you may not have been high-fiving me after we had this deck battle.
The trash talk begins already. I love it. I'd still high-five you. I'd just high-five you and then go find a corner and cry for the rest of the show.
Well, we'll try to go easy on you.
So if I hook you up with Dan, like if I send you his email or something, will you go say hi and give him a high five for me at the very least?
Oh, you better believe that. I think I already emailed him, and I think we already have plans to go grab a beer. So
what? Oh man, you're way ahead of me. Awesome. Very cool. So man, I'm totally jealous. There are a lot of cool games that are going to be there at Gen Con. Because it is mostly a board game focus, right? Is a tabletop, basically?
Yeah. At least that's what I'm most interested in going to. There's lots of like RPG events, and I believe there's some card stuff as well, but the board game stuff is what I'm most interested in. So yeah,
very cool. Awesome. Well, that's a good reason to be happy. All right, let's talk about these tavern brawls, because this is our news of the week. We're recording this on Tuesday. Wait, it's today? No, today's Monday? I don't even know what day it is. But the important thing is that it's not Tavern Brawl Day. So we don't know what this week's Tavern Brawl is, but we have already had 4 of them. Or wait, 3 of them. I can't do math at all tonight. All right, we had the Ragnaros versus Nefarian. So let's talk about that one real fast. So those were pre-built decks. Nefarian was the control deck, and Ragnaros was the control deck, and Nefarian was the rush deck. What did you think of that?
I thought it was super fun. I mean, getting an opportunity to play the boss decks from the adventure solo player campaign was such a treat, and like getting to access to use these super powerful cards that were way broken was really fun and satisfying.
Yeah, dude, like the 6/6 taunts for 2 mana. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll just make all my spells cost, what was it, 3 less or 6 less or something? Oh,
yeah, I think it's 3 or 4 less.
Yeah, madness.
That was outrageous. And starting with 5 mana and adding a random spell to your hand every turn with the hero power, super fun.
Yes, actually, the concept of using like an unstable portal mechanic, but for spells, was super neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, sure, it added some RNG to it, and sometimes it felt like, really, they got polymorph? Are you kidding me? Out of like the 150 spells they could have gotten. But still, I mean, it was really fun. That was really cool. I agree. That I still think that was the first one. I think it's still my favorite so far.
I would agree. Yeah.
The bananas one was okay. I know actually, Scott and I had this debate. Scott Lance, a frequent host,
yes,
had this debate on Battle.net chat like last week, I think, where I expressed my disappointment with the bananas one after the Ragnaros versus Nefarian one, which I loved so much, and he flat out could not believe that I did not like the bananas more than the other one. But I think Scott is a habitual deck builder.
Yes.
And so having that kind of being able to build his own deck got him really excited. But I loved all the new cards and stuff. And bananas was still cool. Sure, you could try some new decks, and I had a lot of fun actually doing Druid Mill was really fun.
Yeah.
So what kind of decks did you try in that mode?
As a mage aficionado, I of course had to do the Flame Waker / Archmage Angenitis deck.
Oh my goodness!
And it was pretty ridiculous, I have to say. Just adding spell power or spell damage, to your side enabled your single damage bananas to actually do 2 damage. And with stuff like Sorcerer's Apprentice, you could make your 1 cost bananas actually cost 0 mana, and it would just get insane.
I just have to point out you used the phrase 1 damage banana, which is just hilarious. I'm sorry.
Well, clearly the 2 damage banana is where you want to be, Josh.
Because the way you were speaking in a very academic tone, talking about the pros and cons of this stuff, but you're talking about 1 damage bananas. I love it.
The 1 damage banana. Amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Did we just go in the phrase?
Spiders was super fun, too. It's interesting. I don't know if it's just me or maybe just all people. I really like this kind of, you called it the unstable portal mechanic, where there's just a lot of random cards thrown into the mix, which is really fun for this mode because the spiders were all the web spinners. Is that what they're called?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so. It's the 1/1 hunter that puts a random beast in your hand. And all the minions in your deck were web spinners. And then you got class spells. That one was just super fun too. I really liked that.
Yeah, it was super fun. And the best thing about Hearthstone being a digital card game is they can harness like the ability of true randomness, unlike a game like a physical card game like Magic could. You couldn't randomly insert a beast card from the entire catalog of Magic cards into your hand. So
yeah.
In Hearthstone, this is the perfectly appropriate mechanic, and it works really well. Like you can just be super surprised with pulling out a giant dinosaur or a massive gorilla lord, or you can get a crappy little captain's parrot. Yeah, angry chicken, even worse.
Yeah,
My
dude,
goodness.
I got King Mukla twice in a row. Oh man, it was so good.
Oh, especially in your mill deck.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So Tavern Brawl has been really fun for me, not just because it's a really cool mode, but I love that it's coming out every week on a specific day. One of my coworkers, Justin, and I just have a standing, I don't want to call it a date, because maybe that's weird for some people, but we have a lunch get-together where every Wednesday we know, hey, Tavern Brawl is out. The very first thing we do before we've ever played it is we sit down and play each other and just learn it together as we go.
That's
really
excellent. Fun. Yeah, I think Tavern Brawl is definitely at its most fun when you are going into it sight unseen. I think there is a danger in learning too much going in and just not getting to experience these things like as it's happening, and like opening up your beginning hand and having them all be web spinners is just like, huh. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually why I like, I know some people have sent me messages complaining that they don't like that the wins don't matter and you can't get a ton of wins or grind out points or something. But I like that. I like that I don't feel pressured that I have to, think ahead of time and, don't waste it in there. I better learn the meta. Like, it's more just, hey, go in there and have fun. It's going to be fun. I love that.
Yes, it's definitely an amazing casual format for people who just want to go in and just play the game and have fun. Like, whether you win or lose, if you're playing a Ragnaros versus Nefarian duel, you're having a good time.
That is very true. All right. So, speaking of duels, hey, how'd you like that? That's pretty good, huh?
Segue?
Yeah. All right. This is a deck battle episode, which means you and I are dueling buddies. So put your smiles away. Put on your game faces. I don't know. Ready your trash talk? Oh, but actually we have to talk for a while about your deck. So don't do that yet. I don't want you yelling at me about your deck for the next 20 minutes.
That's okay. I don't think I could be a mean person anyway. I'm Canadian, so.
Okay. Phew. Goodness. We're saved. Hooray. All right, so these deck battles, just to remind everyone, we do these about once a month. This is where the guest host, Jamie in this case, brings their favorite deck onto the show and breaks it down for you. Tells you what cards are in it, how it works, why they like playing it. And then we do a best-of-3 battle on the show, where I play the last reigning deck champion, which is the last deck that won on the show. And he plays his new deck, and we see how we do. And then just talk about his new deck and what we thought of it. So just to remind people, I'm going to be playing Andrew's Warlock Demon Zoo deck, which is from episode 49. You can check it out there. He put in a ton of notes. Like, the amount of words this guy wrote about his deck is insane. Thank you, Andrew, if you're listening. So if you want to play this deck at all, please go read his guide. It's on GameDiplomat.com. Tons of great advice in there. He also put in subs. Like, I'm using a couple of his sub cards because I didn't have all of his cards. So if you don't have all of his cards, that's fine. There's a lot of really good options in there that he gives you as well. But this week, Jamie is stepping into the ring with his own personal favorite deck. I wanted to call it the Angry Robots deck, but I think you have a more a tame version. What are you calling it right now?
Well, I just call it the Mech Patron deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I at least pretend that it's the patron, but he's actually an evil robot in disguise?
Ooh, I like that. He's like the cyborg patron deck. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Where everyone's like, hey, come in, patron. We're so happy you're here. And then his Terminator eye comes out and just starts destroying the place.
Well, that is appropriate given the theme of the deck, as we're about to see.
All right. So Jamie put together an awesome full deck list with all the cards, along with substitute cards, like we said, and some strategies about how to play the deck. All that's going to be on GabeDiplomat.com, so you don't have to write everything down that he's about to talk about. But why don't you go ahead and tell us just what this deck is all about?
All right. Well, the deck is a warrior combo deck based around the card Grim Patron. Grim Patron is a 5-drop 3/3, which in itself is kind of a terrible card on the vanilla scale.
Yeah.
That being paying 5 mana for a 3 attack and 3 health minion it's just a bad bargain compared to something like an Ironfur Grizzly, which is like a 3/3 for 3 with taunt.
Yeah.
But what makes Grim Patron special and deck build worthy is its special ability, which says, whenever it survives damage, summon another Grim Patron. Essentially, the goal is to flood the board with 3/3s and just grind them down with an explosive and sudden army of drunken dwarves.
Which I can appreciate. That sounds pretty awesome. Now, I've heard a lot about Grim Patron decks. Excuse me. Grim Patron decks, and I've faced a lot of them on the ladder. But this is a Mech Patron deck. Why are there mechs here?
Yeah, I found that the combo aspect of the Grim Patron deck typically relies on getting a couple of cards in hand and busting out a crazy 8 or 10 mana combo. But in order to get to those cards, you typically have to play a lot of card drawing engines to get you to cycle through your deck to find these essential pieces. And so for me as a deck builder, that seemed okay, but you're able to waste a lot of slots on all these cards that don't do anything but get you to the cards you want. So my personal spin on it was to build the Grim Patron combo around a mech deck backbone, which is a very tempo-based deck. You get to play things that are powerful minions that do amazing trades that gain you an early board advantage to help you survive long enough so that you can actually bust out your surprise combo at the end.
Okay, and it does actually seem pretty devious because people probably see the mechs and they're like, "Oh, okay, it's a mech deck," and then like, "What, Grim Patron? Where did you show up?"
Yeah, I definitely like the fact that it head fakes with the mech and then finishes with the patron combo. It's definitely a surprise win for people who aren't seeing it coming, and it's just my kind of deck where it has that little bit of craftiness, but also its ability to stand on its own legs. If you can't find the combo, the mech should be able to carry you through.
Yeah. All right, so how does this? Is that typically how it wins? Is where you're just trading early and stalling, and then waiting for the Grim Patron to come, and he's what always wins?
Yeah. Funnily enough, the patron combo itself can often destroy your opponent's board, but it's not usually the way that you finish them off. Usually by just clearing out their board and smashing through with a really big wave of dwarves or a huge legendary minion like Grommash Hellscream will finish off the game for you really easily. But it can go either way really. And if you can't even find those cards, just playing a really sweet curved out mech deck will just sometimes kill people by turn 6 before you even have to bust out the combo.
Nice. That's like the ultimate insult, right? You're like, I didn't even need the best spells in this deck.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you'll see, the mechs themselves have some pretty amazing trading abilities because they have really good, almost best-in-slot stats for their costs. And their ability to trade and maintain board presence is just really amazing.
Okay, cool. So what are some of the big key cards in this deck?
Well, Grim Patron by far is the most fun and interesting card in the deck. His ability to produce an army of buddies is like unlike any other card in the game, really. It's so perfectly suited to the warrior deck in particular because of the Warsong Commander, which allows him to basically charge as soon as he hits the board. which is the second key card. The Warsong Commander, he's pretty much the almost more important than the Grim Patron to have in hand, but he's the essential combo piece because he allows your freshly minted Grim Patrons that enter the board to immediately attack and potentially spawn more buddies, creating this rapid-fire catapult of damage to people's face.
Which is hilarious if you picture just dwarves rushing into battle, and every time they hit someone, a new one just appears and rushes forward.
Yeah, I'm much more seeing them as cyborg dwarves now, now that you mentioned it.
Yes, good. Just picture any scene from the Terminator when they flash back, or flash forward, I guess, to the future, where the robots are just killing all humans.
Yes.
It's just like that.
I think if you listen really carefully in the background, you can hear, "Everyone, get in here."
If it's not in there, someone needs to make a
Someone needs
video
to,
right now.
Clearly. And then finally, also, Death's Bite, which is the Warrior Axe, and the Cruel Taskmaster, both have similar roles in the deck. They allow you to ping or deal 1 damage to all minions or particular minions, in particular like the Grim Patron or Grom Hellscream, in order to activate their abilities. So it's kind of like incidental damage that you get to deal just for playing these cards that you were possibly going to do anyway. So it's kind of a free effect that really benefits the combo.
Very cool.
And then,
what
of
else?
course, you can't do a warrior deck without Gromash Hellscream. I mean, he's huge, 10 damage to the face. It's just the ultimate way to kill someone off. Being able to trigger his special damage in rage, I think it is, off of either the Deathbite, the Cruel Taskmaster, or basically anything that allows him to kill a minion and stay on board. He's really sticky. He's hard to kill with his large health pool, and quite frankly, he's just surprising. With charge, you can't really even see him coming.
Yeah, he is a terrifying dude. I will definitely give you that, especially in a deck like this that gets so much value out of already having cards that do ancillary damage like this, because you want them for the patron. Because a lot of times in like a control warrior deck, you have to sometimes slot stuff in to make sure you can do Gramash Hellscream to proc his Enrage. But this, I mean, you've got plenty of tools to do it anyways. It's free.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of what my deal was when building it, is just trying to do it incidentally and not try to devote entire card slots like something like an Inner Rage would do. Whereas it's a powerful card, without Grommash in your hand, it's kind of a dead draw. So I wanted to kind of go away from that kind of stuff.
All right. So you've already said 5 since you lumped Death Bites and Cruel Taskmaster together, but I'll give you another one. What's your last card?
Well, Commanding Shout has a special place in my heart. I would say not many Grim Patron combo players would use this card, but this card is insane. It's a 2-cost spell that says your minions cannot be reduced below 1 health this turn. Draw a card. So you can imagine when my Grim Patrons hit something that would normally kill them, they're now surviving and spawning new Grim Patrons with which to catapult. And the really crazy thing about this shout is that it not only affects everything in play, but it affects all future minions that you're going to play this turn. So the ones that haven't even been spawned yet will get the shout ability as well.
Okay, so if you have the Warsong Commander out, they can also charge forward and then just keep doing this over and over.
Essentially, over and over and over, until you've killed their entire board full of minions and have finally started swinging at their face.
So you won't get any objections from me, because this is actually one of the cards that I think has been extremely underrated for a long time. I mean, it's a 2-cost cantrip. That alone right there means you have to get super little out of the effect for this card to be worth it in my books. And you get a ton out of that effect in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, leaving minions on board after a combat that they would normally trade is just an insane board control play. It leaves you vulnerable to things like a druid's attack or a rogue's attack or the mage hero power as well. But essentially, making them having to use those abilities on their turn is screwing up their plans on their turn and not allowing them to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Well, this sounds, frankly, like a very annoying deck to play against, so I'm not looking forward to this duel, but it'll be fun. So any last thoughts before we jump and do battle?
I only hope that you are prepared for the unending wave of cybernetic dwarves that are about to flood your way.
Wow, that's I got nothing. I'm trying to think of some anti-robot joke, but I don't know enough robot prejudice jokes.
Yeah, that's just racist.
I know, dude. I don't want to be racist against drunken dwarf robots. They'll kill me for it. All right. Well, I got demons and zoos and warlocks, and dude, you don't even know I got eggs and stuff in this deck. You're going down. So we're gonna go do the best of 3 series right now. I'm gonna live stream it and we'll put it in the show notes on GameDiplomat.com, or you can just wait a few seconds and we'll be right back and tell you how it goes. All right, we are back. And Jamie, I actually have a message for you from Andrew, the creator of the deck, who was watching me as we played. I didn't realize it until the very end when he sent me a message that he was watching. And he tells you, Jamie, to bow to the king in all caps. That was as close as I got to yelling.
I will admit my defeat in the face of unbelievable aggression. Wow.
Yeah, dude. So that was so real fast. I'll comment on the deck that I played, the Warlock Demon Zoo deck. That was the best I've seen that deck perform in a while. It was really strong. It was just unrelenting, constant punching.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts, and I didn't get any of my board clears to deal with the big dudes, and it just became an overwhelming avalanche. It was crazy.
Yeah. So. Again, that's Warlock Demon Zoo. You can check that out 2 episodes ago. But now let's talk about your deck, Jamie, because it seemed like you couldn't get the start you were looking for. A lot of times you were turning down turns with 5-6 mana in your hand. What was going on?
It was pretty depressing. I didn't curve out the way nearly I had intended, and some of the draws were just not optimal for the turns that were being played. And it happens when you're playing a minion deck. If you're not getting them in the order that is ideal, it can end up with disastrous results, like playing a 3-drop on turn 5 or something like that. So
yeah. One thing I noticed, you had 2 different starts. We played 2 games. Warlock Demon Zoo won both. One of the games you started with and for me, because I don't know all the warrior card names, the 1/3 Enrage minion. Mm-hmm. And then another game, you got the Harvest Golem out pretty quickly. Are either of those kind of the ideal early minions, or what do you normally want to do early with this deck?
I mean, ideally early against Paladin or someone who's able to put out a bunch of early minions like Hunter. A Warbot is usually enough to take out any early offense, but the best...
And that's the 1/3 with
Yeah, that's
Enrage?
The guy that you're talking about, yeah. But the Fiery War Axe is pretty much where you want to be. I mean, nothing really beats the Fiery War Axe as far as early minion removal. And I just could not buy one, except for in the second game when you played the Flame Imp, and I did have the Fire War Axe at that time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there wasn't much else beyond that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude. Oh, so I played the Void Caller. Man.
Yes.
So I played the Void Caller, and I realized after I played it that I didn't have a demon in my hand, and I was like, oh God, please do not kill it. Please do not kill it. Give me another turn to draw something. And I tried the hero power, didn't draw one. I was like, there's no way it's going to let it go for 2 turns. No way.
It's funny because I normally wouldn't have attacked your Void Caller, but I noticed that you did do the life tap after playing him, and I was like, I wonder if he is actually digging for a demon and trying to psych me out. And as it turns out, that was the case. But I was definitely convinced that you were going to do what you did in the first game and had the 5/7 charge.
Yeah, the Doomguard.
Doomguard drop in off of that guy, and wow, like that was it's a crazy opener when I'm killing your 3/4 at great expense only to replace it with a 5/7 charge.
Yeah, that was some of the most fun I've had on the stream in a while. I was actually cheering and raising my arms, chanting, "Kill him, kill him, kill him," because I had that guy in my hand, and turns kept going by. I was like, man, I'm gonna draw just a terrible demon. Like I'm gonna get the Void Walker or something, right? And then you'll kill it. But the right before you killed it, I drew a second Doom Guard, and I was just like, yes, there's no way I don't get this 5/7.
Amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much the worst thing, right? Having the two double Doom Guard is almost guaranteeing that one of those is hit in the graveyard when you cast the other, right? So getting it into play for free off of the Void Caller is pretty much where you want to be.
Yeah. So okay, so I saw you used the warrior robot or the mech. I can't remember now. His battle cry gives +2/+2 to another mech.
Yes.
That seems really strong. Is that like a key part to the mid game?
Yeah, the Screwjank Clunker, as he is known, he's a 3-drop. I believe he's a 2/5, and he's got the battle cry to give another mech +2/+2. Normally, it's not that great of a body for including in your deck as a mid-range minion, but that +2/+2 on something like a Harvest Golem or a Piloted Shredder who already has 4 attack, bump him up to 6, can be very surprising, and it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean that's what got rid of my either my Boom or my Mountain Giant. Is you threw that onto your Harvest Golem or your you threw it onto something, but then you were able to easily remove it when I thought you were gonna have to use a spell or something to take it out.
Yeah, exactly. And because it kind of has a spell-like effect of buffing your guys, it can actually, but it also is a dude that sits on the board. He can actually kind of fill both roles in that way. That's why I like the Screwjank Clunker.
So I got a question for you, because I always kind of wondered how the Warsong Commander worked. If you were playing Warsong Commander, and you threw Grim Patron down, and he got charge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I guess Grim Patron is a terrible example, since you can't buff it. But you threw down a mech that got charge. If you then buffed it +2/+2, would it lose the charge, or does it keep the charge?
Oh, you better believe it keeps the charge.
Oh, it does?
Yes. There is another amazing warrior minion who I sometimes play as an alternate. I can't remember his name right now. He's the 2/4, I think he's Frothing Berserker.
Oh, yeah.
He comes into play with 2 strength, and he gets charged when he hits the board. But as you start flinging your other minions and dealing damage, he gains attack points based on other minions taking damage. So he can go up to like 10 damage himself, 10 attack himself, and still have his charge to smash through.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that is terrifying.
Yes, it only matters when they hit the board is when they are granted the charge. They can later be buffed and retain the charge.
Okay. So I got a couple of questions about specific warrior cards. I'm curious how you feel about them, because it feels like maybe they would do well in this deck. And I know you've played a lot with it. Crush is a card I think that's also really undervalued. It's a 7-cost spell for a destroy minion, but if you have a damaged minion, it only costs 3.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Is that a Blackrock Mountain card?
Yeah, it is.
I have to admit, I have not even unlocked that card for my personal collection. But yeah, I do imagine that card would be pretty useful, because you are dealing with a lot of wounded minions on your board based on your trades early, and some of your enraged guys, they just want to be damaged. So it does go with the theme. And to be honest, I think not having kill spells, except for something like Execute, really hinders the deck against big threats like Dr. Booms, like you were playing, or the big giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every turn I played Boom, which I got lucky. I got Boom on both games. Yeah, I know. I had him in my opening hand on the first game, and I was like, should I throw him back? I was like, I'm going to have like 7 turns to draw him before I need him. Oh, I'll do it. And then he came back around. But every time I played him, I was like, oh, God, he's going to do Crush. He's going to do Crush.
I wish I was crushing, because that guy was crushing me.
So another Blackrock Mountain card I'd love to get your opinion on that people kind of think is bad. Axe Flinger. He's a 4-cost warrior minion, 2/5. But he has, whenever this minion takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero.
Yeah,
is that damage enough?
I think it's enough in a certain type of deck. I mean, the most popularized deck that warriors are running these days is Control. It's actually rare to find a warrior that's running a pure aggro deck. It's weird because like the original warrior deck that was in vogue at the beginning was the attacking aggro warrior deck, but now the seasoned warriors are much more leaning towards the control style with all of the armor abilities. So that kind of card does find itself better suited to an aggro deck. But in a combo deck, I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of synergy with anything because it's not a mech. And I mean, doing 2 extra damage to the face is good, but I'd rather have it affect the board in a way, which is why I choose something like the Screwjank Clunker, because he can directly affect my stuff on board.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So one last spell question, just because I'm curious, because one thing Scott has brought up on the show is he's not really a big fan of Revenge. Why are you running Revenge instead of Whirlwind? What kind of appeals to you about that?
Mostly because of the Hunter aggro decks. A lot of the times they can just out aggro your minions that you're building, and they won't even choose to attack your guys. They'll just go straight for your face, and because of my lack of taunt minions, I find myself taking damage early against a lot of those decks. Now, Revenge, like Whirlwind, will deal 1 damage to all of the minions on the board, including your own. But when you hit the certain threshold, which is, I believe, 12 life, if you have 12
health.
Yes, then it actually hits all minions on board for 3 damage. So against a really aggressive deck, where I find myself just drowning in enemy minions, it can kind of save your bacon, in that kind of situation. You are paying 1 more for its whirlwind-like effect, but I kind of like the fact that it has dual roles in that sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Yeah, and man, Face Hunter, I've been there, man. I understand wanting to have that card to deal with it, because it is brutal. And 3 damage will pretty much kill almost anything in a Face Hunter deck.
Yeah, I mean, even their summoned hyenas off of their Savannah Highmane, or, like a lot of their other minions have 2 or 3 health, so it can pretty much deal with most of the things that you're worried about.
Very cool. So I feel, I want to know from your side, if you could describe, because I feel like your deck got maybe misrepresented on this show, because it sounds like you had some bad draws.
Sure. Yeah. I think I was optimistic fighting the Warlock deck, because I noticed that you rely on a lot of spells that generate a lot of low attack minions, which is perfect breeding grounds for drunken dwarfs. That's what we want to do. We want to be slamming into 1 attack minions all day, all night. But the problem is getting there is a problem. Getting to 8 or 10 mana and having those cards in hand, it can be a tricky business. And in neither game, I don't think I hit my antique heal bot. Or no, maybe I did once. Oh, you know what I did?
You did on the second game.
That's right. I did on the second game because I spawned a Mech Warper off of the piloted shredder, which was amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I was pulling my hair out because on the first game, you actually almost made a comeback at the end because of 1 turn with your Grim Patrons and the Warsong Commander.
Yes.
It was one of those things where I know you described it ahead of time, but I still wasn't ready for it when it's just like, oh, okay, played those 2 guys, no big deal. And then just 2 minutes later, your turn was still going and you were still generating things and still trading with me. And I was just like, what is happening? My board is just slowly disappearing. When is it my turn? Yeah,
it kind of feels like you're in this time warp where you can see death approaching, but there's just nothing you can do about it. Yeah, it's even worse if they have a commanding shout out where all of my minions who would normally be trading are staying on board. Yeah. It can get kind of annoying. And I think that a lot of people may give the patron decks a bad rap because they have a tendency to run long because the combo turns take a while to actually process. But, if you have the patience and if you feel like you want to play a crafty kind of deck that requires some math to play, then I think it's a really fun deck.
Yeah, and I mean, you were right about that Gramash Hellscream, dude. When he came out and he was punched me in the face for 10, well, I already thought I had that game way in the bag. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh man, I need to win next turn or I lose.
Yeah, I knew it was a gamble. I really, thinking back on it, probably should have traded because when you had that big minion on board and I still had a couple of guys, I chose to go for the face just because it forced you to either have the combo or die. But luckily you had, not only did you have one of those power overwhelmings, you had both, which was just ridiculous. I think he was a 17-15 attacking minion or something by the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt a little BM at the end, but I just wanted, for the live stream, I wanted to show how much power was left in Andrew's deck with that hand I had. It was really strong.
Yeah, in no way do I hold that against you and will carry a grudge for the rest of my life. No. Of course not. Of course not.
You're already making your Josh Augustine voodoo doll over there?
Just did it for the stream. That's what he said.
Yeah. Just did it for the stream. Yeah, maybe I just had to stab you for the stream. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, you're Canadian, though, so I think that means you can't be mad at me. I think you already said this at the top of the show, right?
Yeah, I feel like I almost have to apologize for how bad of a showing that particular match was. But, I mean, I've had some pretty amazing comeback victories with the Grim Patron deck. And a lot of times you are playing from a disadvantaged board state, and then you just come out with this amazing combo which leaves you in total control and dominance. And so it's truly, for the people who want that overwhelming satisfaction of taking someone out with this come out of nowhere surprise attack ambush of drunken dwarves, then yeah, it's definitely fun.
Plus, you got to, and let me go ahead and quote you on this from your in between our matches, the taunt you sent me. You said, "The thing about cyborg dwarves is that they will keep on coming until you're dead." So, I mean, when you're playing this deck, you get to, send your enemies or your opponents cool messages like that.
Yes.
Which is fun. So, all right. So, any last thoughts on this deck before we go ahead and move on to the community section?
I think more competitive decks run a little bit tighter of a deck list than mine, with much more focus on the combo itself. But, I kind of like the Mech deck because it just tends to be able to function without the combo. But, do whatever you like, but give the Mech Patron combo a try if you want to have a different, surprising finish to an otherwise normal-looking Mech opening.
Yeah, I was really excited about this deck because it seemed a lot easier to build. The trouble with the Grim Patron deck and a lot of combo decks in particular, like you're kind of mentioning, is that to make it efficient, you have to have a super tight deck list, which means you need to have 40 specific cards. And if you don't have 20 of those cards, well, your deck's going to be awful, or you have to spend a ton of dust getting those 20 cards.
Yes.
But a lot of people already have the backbone of the Mech deck. So it would actually be pretty easy and not cost a lot of dust, if any, to swap over and try this deck, which I think is a really cool advantage.
This current deck list is only 2,460 dust, which on the grand scheme of things is really low. Like, there's only one legendary in the deck. So if you're on a budget and you want to give something a try, if you've played through the Goblins and Gnomes and Blackrock Mountain stuff, you probably have all of the cards needed to do this.
Very cool. Awesome. So again, the full deck list along with his explanations and also cards you can swap out. So if you don't have like the legendary, what you can put it in its place, all that's going to be on GameDiplomat.com, along with the live stream where you can watch me cheer and dance. And I even sang a song at one point.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was having all sorts of fun this
Gosh,
time. It's amazing how much more fun it is to win. Yeah.
Well, that's why I allowed you to win. You realize that.
Oh, that's what it was. So that turn where like you had 5 mana and you just ended it, you had the combo in your hand. You were just being kind, I guess, right?
We'll go with that.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the community. We don't have a question this week, so if you have questions for us, please send them in. You can send it on Twitter or email, all that stuff. All the contact info's at the end. But send it in so we can have questions to answer on the show. You could be about anything, your homework or the girl you're into. We'll give advice on whatever. Let's talk about the iTunes review. D. Zemke wrote this one, 5 stars. Great Hearthstone podcast for all levels. D. Zemke says, The Happy Hearthstone was the first Hearthstone podcast I started listening to when I was first getting into the game 6 months ago. What? That was almost a year ago, 2014. I found many of their foundational episodes, like how to choose the best cards, how to build a good deck, etc., to be instrumental in my introduction to the game. The hosts are extremely friendly and seem to really enjoy producing the show. We do. Can you tell how much fun we're having right now?
So much fun.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun are you having?
Oh, we're at 11 here.
We're at 11.
I should say I'll scale it back to a 10 because had I crushed you with the cyborg dwarves, it would have been an 11. But it's just a
Okay.
mere 10.
Well, I'm having a 20, so I'm making up for it.
That's twice as fun as me.
I know, man. Sorry. I mean, someone's got to. D. Zemke says, I highly recommend this podcast to anyone who is new to Hearthstone and wants to become familiar with the basic concepts and to more experienced players who are looking for some friendly discussions of the latest Hearthstone developments and decks. Congratulations on 50 episodes and keep up the great work. Thank you, D. Zemke. It feels good. We're now at 51 episodes. We are practically at 100 now.
Yeah.
We're there. If you round up, I mean...
Yeah, actually, yeah, rounding up. That works. Yeah.
All right, now to my favorite part of the show. You better crank up your happiness level to a 15 for this one, Jamie, because you got to sing.
That's right. Is this my turn? Is this my time to shine?
Yeah, it's your turn, please.
Right.
There are producers and agents listening. Win them over right now.
Okay, here we go. Card of the week. What can it be? It's the card of the week. Some powerful bomb, a weapon for Grom, some chilling Yeti. Goblins cutting trees, spawn a minion for free. A captain's parrot again, I'll blame the RNG. So come with me and we will see Josh Augustine's card of the week. Woo!
Oh, yeah. Dude, if I was an agent, I'd hire you right now. That was awesome, dude. You had themes, you had verses, you had jokes that tied into the cards that you just listed. What?
I know.
Jamie, that was incredible.
Well, I have to admit, I've been singing it to myself in my car to and from work for the last couple days.
Dude, that's good. Yeah, every good musician needs some rehearsal time. So I got asked, though, how did you come up with which cards? Are those your favorite cards that are in there? Are the cards that were all on the deck? How did you pick?
It was kind of like themed to the deck that I was playing.
Okay.
It just kind of spun out naturally, and yeah, it was a moment of creation born of inspiration.
Wow, now you're throwing out poetry. This is getting too big for me, Jamie. I can't compete. You win, buddy. You win.
Yay!
Yeah, you win the card of the week section.
Awesome.
I still win the duel. Sorry.
Oh.
But the card of the week you picked. Why don't you go ahead and share people? Tell them what it is.
The card of the week is Naturalize. This is a druid spell. It costs 1 mana, and it says destroy a minion. Your opponent draws 2 cards. So most people would agree that spending 1 card to kill 1 card is a good deal. But in this case, you're spending 1 card to kill a card and then giving them 2 free cards to their hand. So it's a hotly debated card as to whether this is any good to play. But for my own sake, I actually really like Naturalize because with 1 mana to kill any minion, it's just an insane tempo play. Like, they can spend 8 mana to play a Ragnaros. I'll kill it for 1 mana and then still play a 7-drop on my turn. So,
Yeah.
Yes, you are giving up cards to their hand, but in this case, I prefer cards being on board to however many cards they have in hand. Now, this kind of card typically finds its way into a Druid mill deck, like you had mentioned before, but I kind of tend to like it even against something as like nasty as like a Tyrion Forging with a Divine Shield defensive bonus. This thing just goes right through that and just, you're out of here, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point you bring up, because I wonder if people are down on this card because Druid is normally like a card advantage kind of deck. Like, they play late game and they wait and then they play big beefy minions. Mm-hmm. So they need to win through card advantage. But if you could play like an aggressive tempo Druid deck, maybe this card would be incredible there, right? Because the downside is they're going to beat you in cards anyways. That's not what you're trying to do with an aggressive tempo deck.
Mm-hmm. You're just trying to have better minions at every stage of the game. And if you can swing through every turn, then it doesn't matter what they're going to play next turn if they die this turn.
Okay, this is interesting. I would be very interested to see an aggressive Druid deck. I don't know if I've ever played that. Is that a thing that you've tried before?
I do have some Druid decks on the side, but when Grim Patron came out of Blackrock Mountain, I was just like, this is a thing. I have to make this deck. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wonder if you could do something, because, I mean, Druid of the Claw has charge, Swipe is solid for dealing damage and kind of removing some stuff. I mean, with Bite and stuff like that, they have a lot of, direct damage they could do.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a card that maybe hasn't gotten its due yet, but I agree it's super interesting, and it feels like someday when there may be more Druid cards, there's a deck this is going to feel really good in.
Yeah. And, I've even killed people by holding this back until they've drawn out of their deck into fatigue, where you destroy their minion and force them to take the next 2 turns worth of fatigue damage right now. So that's also kind of a thing, yeah.
That's pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. So that was in a Druid Mill deck, I assume. It didn't just happen to get that late.
Yeah,
right?
Generally that kind of thing comes in a Druid Mill deck where you're intending to push the game that late.
Okay, so if no one's tried a Druid Mill deck, just to remind people, that's where you win by hitting fatigue damage. You win by milling their cards, essentially, which is, in this game, you force them to draw it, but you force them to draw so much that their hand is full, and so these cards just evaporate, essentially, and you just burn through their deck until all of their cards are gone and they're taking damage each turn. It's still not a super competitive deck, just because it's really hard to do. There aren't a ton of cards that support milling. You have to run stuff like the Darklight Oracle, the neutral minion. But if you haven't tried that deck yet, it is just a fun deck to play. When you just want to goof off and have a fun day, play some of those.
Yeah, alternate win conditions, like making someone discard themselves to death, is a super satisfying way to win a normal game of Hearthstone.
Oh, it is. Especially because sometimes they won't notice it right away because you're playing like Death Lords or Dancing Swords, and they're like, well, that's weird. This person's playing kind of bad cards, but okay. But then you can almost tell that switch when they start to panic and they realize what you're doing, and they're just like, oh no, so they're trying to like dump their hand and dump cards. Oh man, it feels good. It feels like you're lulling them into a false sense of security and then just pull the rug out from under them.
Yeah, I think it kind of almost has to be a trap kind of scenario where they don't see it coming. Otherwise, yeah, they may be able to react and not make the trades that you're wanting them to make, or yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Any other last thoughts on Naturalize before we go ahead and close it out?
I would say, yeah, it is a highly debated card. I tend to like it because what it allows me to do this turn, and I don't tend to think about what the consequences will be if I just beat you this turn. Like if I just silence your minion that has taunt, if I don't kill you this turn, he's still on board. But if I just kill him with 1 mana, he's dead. Like he's gone, and I can continue with what I want to do. So I like the power that it changes what your opponent was going to do for almost no impact on your mana cost. So that's why I like it.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, so I think that's the show. We're going to have full show notes along with links to all the live streams and all the cards and the deck lists and all that sort of stuff on GameDiplomat.com. Just swing by there, click on Hearthstone at the top. You'll find it right away. As always, we'd love to know what you thought of the show and what you'd like to see added in future episodes. You can find us on Google+, Happy Hearthstone. Tons of people in there talking about Hearthstone all the time. We got some awesome new moderators in there this month, actually, that are doing a really good job of, cleaning things up and adding, topics of discussion for people every now and then. Thanks to everyone that moderates in there. You can contact me on Twitter directly at jaugustine. You can email me, ajosh@outlook.com. Or you can just comment directly on the blog, GameDiplomat.com. Jamie, I hear you're a mysterious fellow that can't be reached by any means.
Yes, it is known that I strike like the wind and disappear. Yeah,
okay.
I don't currently have a Twitter account or Instagram or any of that stuff the kids are using these days. But if you do want to reach me or you want to send me a note or some feedback, then yeah, go ahead and send it to Josh, and I'm sure I'll be able to pass it along my way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so send me a Twitter, email, anything. One thing you can do, Jamie, that a lot of other hosts have done in the past I thought was really cool is keep an eye on the deck post on the site, and a lot of people ask questions on there. So and it'd be really cool if you could respond on there and kind of let them know what you're thinking of different cards or different things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. And if you happen to be down for Gen Con this year, then we'll add you to the friends list and maybe get a fireside duel going.
Oh, nice. There you go. That'd be awesome. Cool. So, thank you again for joining us, Jamie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks again to everyone listening for visiting the Happy Hearthstone and having a little fun with us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.